Yo, man, hopefully you guys had an amazing Thanksgiving. And I hope you guys are starting your final month of 2023 and setting yourself up for success. So, how you want to start 2024, right? You don't have to wait till New Year's to make resolutions. You should have been doing it the past years, and everything's like a building block, right? But anyway, man, I'm not here to preach or anything. I just want to talk about a few things. Hopefully the live ain't too long. But look, man, I don't know what to think about Ryan Garcia, and I don't really know what to think about the relationship with Golden Boy. If I was Oscar myself, I would trade Ryan Garcia to the PBC and exchange, give me David Benavides, right? Because if I'm Oscar, I'm not into the misfits of boxing. I'm not into the divas of boxing. Oscar himself played that fine line, right? If we watched his career, a lot of people call him pretty boy, overrated, like Ricardo Mayorga, right? There was a lot of the moments that people didn't think of Oscar being for real. But look at his whole resume. Look at his body of work. He was a real fucking fighter. He was a gold medalist. He accomplished pretty much everything at the highest level. Had great rivalries, right? Fights with Shane Mosley, legendary shit. Passed the torch off to Mayweather and Pacquiao, right? Fought Felix Trinidad. He beat Trinidad. They didn't give him the decision, but that's another point. Oscar is a real fucking fighter, right? That's his cachet. That should be his niche. His Golden Boy promotional company should be real fighters, not guys like Ryan Garcia. You see, because guys like Ryan Garcia, they're not grateful. They're fighters that will only have moments, not necessarily a fighter that will have a great career, right? Ryan Garcia is just a moment. And Oscar knows it himself. Oscar has stated, and he knows, he goes, look, man, I've been promoting boxing for many years and many years to come. Professional fighters only have maybe 10 years. Promoters are here forever, right? Look at Bob Arum. Look at the careers that he's created and continue to create. Same thing with Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar don't need Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia brings nothing that Oscar needs. He will always fail. I've never seen a fighter. Well, I've seen many fighters, but Ryan Garcia fits in that mold where, the sky is the limit or the stars are the limit. But now he's plateaued. There's like the aura, the bright, shining star of Ryan, it's gone. Essentially, his career is gone too. Could he make money? Yeah. Could he become a champion, beating the likes of Rolly Romero? But will Ryan Garcia ever be the champion? Will he ever be undisputed? He never will, man. Ryan Garcia won't be the guy. He won't be a pound-for-pound fighter. In essence, he will be forgotten. He really will, right? His moments of stardom, that star-breaking ability, he had an opportunity. He had the platform. He had the world's attention. And he took a knee. He said so himself that he got bored. After one round, he got bored and he started letting his hands go. Like, bro, how can you get bored after 3 minutes and that's why you got dropped? It's the funniest thing. It's like, we talked about it in the past, but if I'm Oscar De La Hoya, if I can trade superstars in baseball, in NFL, and in the NBA, I'm trading my quote-unquote superstar, Ryan Garcia, and I'm getting David Benavides. There is growth. There is potential for greatness in a career of David Benavides that you just won't get with Ryan. And all of this stress and all of this, tweeting back and forth and arguing and bickering with Ryan Garcia, Oscar don't need that in his fucking stage of life. Get real fucking fighters, right? Ryan Garcia, his career is like a Jake Paul career. That's his moment where he's going to shine by beating celebrities, celebrity boxing. That's Ryan Garcia. He will always fail, you guys. Oscar needs to trade Ryan to PBC and get David Benavidez. With Benavidez, he can make Jaime Munguia. He can have John Ryder, maybe Edgar Berlanga, Diego Pacheco, and you can build David Benavidez properly and maximize him and make him into a star, and then eventually get a Canelo fight or whatever the case may be. Right? He can fight Zurdo. There's the Bibble fights. Oscar can turn David Benavidez into a great fucking fighter, into a pay-per-view star, into what he expected Ryan to be. You see, Ryan is ungrateful. Ryan is stupid. When I read this article on Boxing Scene, Ryan Garcia's lawyer says, Valencia goes, I don't think anyone inside or outside of boxing thinks that they are promoting Ryan properly. Bro, let me just stop right there after that first sentence. When Ryan Garcia fought Tank Davis, the world was watching, and there was no promotion. Their all access fucking sucked. The highlight of it was Ryan Garcia and Tank Davis like candy. One motherfucker likes Sour Patch. The other guy caters to Reese's Pieces. Their behind the scenes was garbage. Their face-offs was terrible. Right? Like Golden Boy said, it was a funeral until I sparked it. And that's true. Aside from that, they were so cordial. They were so respectful. Tank Davis is shaking Ryan Garcia's mom. And like, what the fuck is that? The best part was when Oscar started to talk his shit and Leonard Edderby, that he goes, man, you've been sleeping behind the wheel. That's why we stole all your fucking rosters and the fighters. That was the best buildup. And that was because Oscar De La Hoya started it. When Valencia, whoever that fucking retard is, when he's saying that Ryan Garcia is smarter than them in regards to Bernard and Oscar De La Hoya, smarter in what sense? We just saw Ryan Garcia try to do a California roll, copying Floyd Mayweather style. The only reason why he did the shoulder roll was try to piss off Oscar De La Hoya. If Ryan was so fucking smart, he would try to emulate and follow the path of Oscar De La Hoya. The greatest thing that Garcia tried to be a ripoff version, a poor man's version of Oscar De La Hoya. Jab, who had a great left hook. Nothing in Ryan Garcia in his life, in his sport of boxing, could he ever do that be greater than Oscar De La Hoya. Ryan will never be greater than Oscar De La Hoya. Ryan is never and will never be a gold medalist. He won't be the face of boxing. The best thing that Ryan can do is be a poor man's Oscar De La Hoya. Anyway, man, you guys can read these articles. And this is what I'm talking about, going back to stress, right? Look at this little clip right here, guys. Look at this little clip. This is Henry, or whatever his fucking name is. This is Ryan's father. They're still not on good terms. Anytime that Oscar has to, or if you have to tap the shoulder to grab a person's attention, that means they're turning their back on you. They don't want to talk to you. Oscar don't need this shit. Like his father's not going to acknowledge him and turn his back. Like he needs Oscar to first make the first move. Look, bro. This shit is ridiculous. Everything that Oscar needs to do is just part ways. That's the simple solution. Focus on building the real fighters in the sport of boxing. You know what I mean? Ryan won't be that. You know what I'm saying? Look at the body language, man. It's the most awkwardest thing. There's many more moments like this, bro. Like, look at the reaction by Oscar here.
Speaking any language I don't know. So, it's very clear to me that, they're backing this guy to beat me just like. So, it's very clear to me that, they're backing this guy to beat me just like they thought Nuno was going to beat me.
Guys, bro, this is the most ridiculous thing. Look, man. See, Ryan Garcia is not that clever, man. Oscar De La Hoya's job is to promote Ryan Garcia. And one of the best things, and one of the easiest way to promote a fighter is by promoting his opponents. It's by bringing up and putting their opponents and making people read headlines like, oh, Duno or this guy Duarte, they're real threats to Ryan Garcia. You have to make the perception of fear, right? By building up your star, you have to build up and line up and promote your opponents as well. If people have this understanding that these guys are nobodies and that they can't beat you, guess what? They're not going to tune in. They're going to tune in when they think that you could get beat. So when Ryan fails to acknowledge that and understand that if Oscar would be like, look, bro, Ryan is the greatest thing since sliced bread. Duno stands no chance. Oscar Duarte stands no chance. Then why the fuck would you put him in there? People are not going to tune in. Like they didn't tune in. Ryan fails to understand the bigger circle, man. The bigger picture. The perception of fear, of a threat. That's what sells, right? It's like politics. The Red Scare. Oh, immigrants and all these things. Oh, Muslims and during all these times of like the bombings and shit. People tune in. The ratings tune in. The world starts talking about it. There's xenophobias going on, right? It circulates. So the propensity of fear, Oscar's doing his fucking job. When he thinks that guys like Duarte can beat Ryan, or if that's what Ryan believes, he doesn't really see the big picture, right? All that muscle that Oscar Duarte did or had, right? He's got no fucking balls to it. Duarte, on the first sight of the first punch, he got scared and he quit. Look, man. When we talk about the career of Ryan Garcia, what are we here to talk about, man? There's nothing to talk about. He sucks, man. He sucks. And I don't even know why Oscar De La Hoya just doesn't want to part ways with him, man. Ryan has, like, his talent is his left hook, right? But it's building it. You see, a great fighter masks what they truly want to do, right? And you set up the left hook. You just don't throw it wildly. Oscar, till this day, is still trying to protect Ryan Garcia. This is Oscar's more popular fighter, obviously, but he's not the greatest fighter. Guys like William Zepeda, maybe even Floyd Schofield, maybe Virgil Ortiz, maybe Jaime Munguia. Those are the real fighters that Oscar De La Hoya has. Right? Ryan Garcia is the guy that you do the headline, that you make the poster boy of your company, and then that's kind of like what brings people's interest to your company. Right? So I understand why he has them, maybe why he's tagging along. But if there was a way to trade him, I would trade him. I wouldn't put a franchise tag on him like they do in the NFL. I would trade him and get better prospects, right? If I'm Oscar, I'm looking to sign guys like Shakur Stevenson, guys like Devin Haney. You know what I'm saying? Not because they have so much upside. Nah, Shakur's a fucking boring ass fighter. But they're true fighters. They're true boxers. Ryan is just going to have a moment, and it'll be a blur. Look, man, there's a lot of great fights that happened this year in 2023. But unfortunately, it was not enough to save the sport of boxing, especially to bring in new investors, especially to bring in new networks. I don't know where boxing goes from after Showtime and HBO left. Maybe Amazon Prime. But, like, is Amazon Prime going to save the sport of boxing? Absolutely not. I feel like Oscar De La Hoya, many years ago, when he lost all his fighters, he was going to do his own Ring TV channel. I think this right now would be a great idea for him to do his own network. It would behoove Oscar to also team up with ProBox and bring in Paulie Malignaggi, Juan Manuel Marquez, and Chris Algieri and network together. Those guys have a formula. They will succeed. There's a big picture in play with ProBox. Their content is fucking amazing, man. Obviously, there's a really good, interesting fight on Saturday or Friday. I'm not too sure. Whenever the 9th is. And Devin Haney will be fighting Regis Prograis. On the undercard, it was supposed to be Andy Cruz versus Hector Tanajara. But there's one that's pretty interesting. And this will be my first time seeing a fighter by the name of Liam Paro. I believe he trains with Freddie Roach at the Wildcard Gym. And he's going to be fighting Montana Love. Right? He's going to be fighting Montana Love. He's going to be fighting Montana Love. I'm very interested in that fight because the last time I saw Montana Love was fighting, I want to say Steve Spark, an Australian, and he got beat. And Montana Love was going to get knocked out. And what he did was something pretty clever. He just tossed him outside of the ring like a Royal Rumble match. It's crazy. He got disqualified. And ever since then, you know, we never really heard about Montana Love ever since. Well, now he's fighting Leon Paro. And supposedly this dude is the goods. Again, I've never seen him fight. To be honest with you guys, there's other fighters on the undercard as well, like Amari Prince Jones. He's a guy from the Bay, and he's one of Devin Haney's prospects and one of his first signed fighters that he got or that they stole from Double Trouble Boxing Gym and in or around Pittsburgh or Stockton area. Anyway, man, pretty interesting fight on Saturday. Devin Haney is going to, I guess, not be drained or look like a skeleton, maybe, against Regis Prograis. But I expect Devin Haney to stop Regis Prograis. Not by knocking him out or sleeping him, but like a TKO stoppage. I think he'll batter Regis's face with enough combinations, and I think they will stop the fight because Regis' face will get, you know, it'll just be target practice. When I look at Regis Prograis, right, his best win on his career will probably be Chon Cepeda, right, Jose Cepeda. And he didn't look that good in that fight. And Cepeda really isn't that great. Like I've said before, he is the worst of the Freddie Roach fighters that he's ever built. But he just had a great moment when he knocked out and beat Josue Vargas. But aside from that, like Chon Cepeda is really not that good. He's very defensive, I guess. He doesn't really get hit with a lot of clean shots, as you saw when he fought like Jose Ramirez from Fresno. But like I said before, and I stand by it, you saw Zepeda's skill versus Richard Hitchens. It was horrible. It was horrible. Like I said, he's the worst of the Freddie Roach crop of fighters that he's ever built. Give me a guy back like Alex El Cholo Salcedo. That guy, that motherfucker knows how to fight. Anyway, man, I think Devin will stop Regis Prograis. Teofimo Lopez made a comment, and he said that guys like Josh Taylor and Regis Prograis have been their whole career at 140, and he feels that they are shot and worn. I think that's also true. I think it's extremely true. As we saw in Regis's last fight against Danielito Sorria, he don't know how to cut off the ring. He's got terrible footwork. Hey, what's going on, El Pachuco? Saludos to you as well, brother. How you been, man? Hey, what's going on, Warp Speed? Mic check real quick. See if you
Me Ricky, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you, brother. Yo, I think you're on mute, man. And he drops off. Yeah, El Pachuco. I'm tired of Ryan Garcia's bullshit as well. Virgil. Yeah, man, look. Hopefully Virgil, I don't know if you guys caught the beginning portion of it, but I just feel like Oscar De La Hoya should trade Ryan Garcia, man. He should trade him and try to get David Benavidez. Usually you don't hear about blockbuster trades in the sport of boxing like you do in the NBA or baseball or football. But if I can trade, let's say, a guy, Debo Samuel, and get, 2 first-rounders, I should be able to do the same thing in boxing. But they don't think about things like that in boxing. They think about the franchise tag and, having fighters buy out their contracts. Like, nah, man, trade this dude. I'm sick of his bullshit as well. If I'm Oscar De La Hoya, you don't need Ryan. Build fighters. Ryan's ungrateful. Kind of like Canelo is ungrateful. Look, man, Oscar did well by Canelo. Oscar protected Canelo from Triple G, right, for many years. And not only did he protect Triple G for many years, he got Canelo a big-ass contract, $330 million guaranteed with upside on an 11-fight deal with the Zone Boxing. I don't know what the fuck happened, but Canelo was upset that he was only a DAZN exclusive fighter or some shit. And he wanted out of his contract and sued Golden Boy for a breach of contract and other things. Um, these fighters are ungrateful. If I'm Oscar the lawyer, I'm not worried about those fighters, man. Um, yo, mic check real quick, speed,
Homie
bro.
Ricky, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, bro. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Well, good even fall to you, the homie Ricky. Good even fall to one and all, any of our listeners out there. I hope that you find yourself in great spirits, and I hope that you have enjoyed the most recent offerings of organized violence that the sport has presented to us through promotions, mostly this past weekend of Golden Boy. But I can say that I was not only entertained, but I was mostly interested in the outcome. Right? There's just so much that we have to that I had to process. So me, Ricky, after watching this, I don't know what else to call it, but I guess I would almost call it a very subpar performance from Ryan Garcia and an excellent account of himself by way of Oscar Duarte. Um, but otherwise, how you been, man? I haven't talked to you for I don't know, a long time. There's been a few days gone by since we've had a live. I've been quite sickly, so I apologize. That accounts for why I haven't been able to hop on and make myself available for these kind of showcases so far. Should I say boxing intellectualness? But what you been up to, the homie Ricky?
Yo, man. I've been up. I've been good, man. Just kind of just enjoying from like voicing my opinion. I don't really think highly of my boxing talks, bro. No, I just joking. No, I've been good, man. Just enjoying time with the family, eating good from after Thanksgiving. Enjoyed the beatdown that the Niners gave to the Philadelphia Eagles. Um, just kind of just going out about and just like I think I might have mentioned it. I don't really know, but I had my family over from and we had a family over and we had a pretty good Thanksgiving. And my older brother said a great reflective. He said it's been about 10 years since we had all the brothers together. Mind you, I'm the youngest of four. I have three older ones, right? And Speed. For those that don't know, Speed is my brother. But he said something in the lines that it's been about 10 or 15 years since we had a Thanksgiving together. A few of my brothers live in a different state. And that was really nice to have. Obviously, meeting a couple of the family members that I hadn't seen or even knew existed, type of thing, right? And just to see their evolution and the growth, watching some videos of the past, decade and seeing them now it was really nice, man. So I've been really enjoying it alongside just kind of like working on little things. But when I like do a recap and just kind of see how the year has gone, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. There's been, I mean, every year has been really good to me, but 2023, 2019, and 2012, those 3 years have probably been the greatest years of my life. I'm not gonna lie. This year I would put it up there as well. Um, just a lot of new experiences. Have accomplished a lot. Um, Made a lot of changes, and it's been very interesting, man. So hopefully I can continue 2024. But I'm just enjoying the ride, man. But yeah, man, you said something amongst the lines that you got a little sick. Hopefully you're feeling better. And what about you, man? Have you enjoyed the time off from just talking boxing and getting headaches?
No, 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 no. I've not enjoyed that time. Yeah, well, I guess the cat's out the bag. You are my sibling. I was really hoping that everybody who heard you say that you were my brother, that they would think, oh, symbolic, very close. But no, no, no. You are my brother, flesh and blood. And I guess if you listen close enough, you can hear the snot in both of our voices, and then you'll be like, "Yeah, they have enough snot in their nasally voices to make sure that they are brothers as they say they are." But no, homie Ricky, I have been very sick, And as far as you, I know you are very grateful and very ecstatic about this year so far. I myself do feel blessed in the sense that as a fan of the sport, I have really and truly enjoyed myself. But as far as the personal going ons in my life, it's just been one thing after another in quick succession in the past month or two. Um, and I am never sickly. I never get sick. In fact, I have not attended a doctor proper, for over 35 years, I would say. And the last time that I met with anybody in the medical profession was when I was around 17, when they were withdrawing my wisdom teeth in order to fix in my face and my dentition braces. Otherwise, I have not met with a provider. But most recently, I guess I developed something called a code, um, which I think is a code um, which we can differentiate by from a fever, because my understanding fever is just worse than a cold. And I mostly got sniffles, but what happened after that is that I developed something called Streptococcus B, which is an infection that affects your throat. And listen, I do not have enemies, but if I had enemies, I would wish strep B in the throat on them, because it feels like they're pulling your teeth apart. It feels like you're swallowing glass. You cannot breathe. Your any beverage, anything that you try, you can at most muster up a sip, and then that just becomes froth and a sputum in the back of your throat. Your tonsils swell up. Your glands around your neck become very inflamed and tumescent. The nape of your neck starts hurting with a bunch of pressure, and if you happen to have, which I did, some residual symptoms of a cold, like nasal mucosity, which I had, all that does is create this intense sinus pressure in your face that you feel like your cranium is gonna explode. Now, I had to go to the provider twice. Once I went on a Thursday this past week because I could no longer take it. Now, I figured that I had an ear infection, which is something that you will not be able to treat at home because you need a regimen of antibiotics. You can only get those, for the most part, through prescription. And for that, you need to see a doctor. Again, I'm not a doctor in close to 3.5 decades. So I had to go to one of those urgent cares. But the reason I went in there fearing that I had an infection was because my ear started to hurt. Now, if you know anything about the otolaryngological system, which is the ear, nose, and throat, otorhinolaryngological system, I mean, ear, nose, and throat, you understand that any mucosity inside of your sinuses, which are the cavities in your face that carry oxygen and sensation and olfactory senses into your brain and otherwise, they are all connected from your inner ear to your nose and to your throat. So if you have mucus in any of those airways, in any of those passages, everything could get backed up. If you have snot in your face, you might not be able to hear. If you have snot in your throat, you might not be able to breathe, right? Or you might have a lingering cough and so forth and so on. So my ears started to hurt, and nothing ever hurts me. So I started to fear that in my days of lingering sickness, I had an ear infection. Now, I know this is a long diatribe. It's a long rant, guys, but I'm going to get to something very important in case anybody finds himself in a similar boat like I did most recently. When when a person goes to meet a provider, the provider asks you, especially in the urgent care settings, because there's different types of care settings, right? There's a primary care physician, which is where you schedule an appointment, you wait your turn, days or weeks or whatever, you meet with your provider, you get one on one undivided attention, and the doctor hears every single one of your concerns. That is the benefit of meeting with a primary care provider, right? Now, a second level below that, of medical attention is what they call an urgent care. Now, an urgent care is one where it's an ambulatory setting, so anybody goes in and goes out according to the order of the walk-in, and there is no kind of triage. In other words, no classification of medical urgency. So it doesn't matter if you're shot in the stomach and your guts are spitting out. If you go to an urgent care, you're not going to be the first one being treated. You're going to be treated in the order that you arrived. So an urgent care is something in the middle of an emergency department and a primary care physician. Similar to a primary care physician, they will see you, but it won't be a doctor that knows your medical history, and you will wait there for hours. But once you get there and you wait there for hours, they will listen to you for the most part as a PCP would. Now, in an emergency room, they ask you questions and then they classify the urgency of your medical crises. If your medical crisis is much more demanding of immediate attention over, let's say, the person who's just lingering with a little cough and a cold, they're going to see you, even if that person walked in there an hour before. So, long story short, I went in
That's a
there.
nasty cough, man.
Yeah, it is. I'm still dealing with it. Long story short, I met with a provider on Thursday, and this person, obviously not knowing myself as an individual, and there was no medical history go off on, she asked, "What is your main concern?" I gave her all of the things. My throat feels like I'm swallowing glass. My teeth feel like they're pulling them apart. Um, but I'm more concerned about my ear because I cannot take analgesics to quell the pain. I cannot take hot beverages to soothe the backside of my throat. If I have an ear infection, only you, doctor, can help me with treating it because you can prescribe amoxicillin or penicillin or whatever you would. Now, instead of checking me for strep throats and all those other things, she just stuck some type of an instrument inside of my ear, looked inside, said, "You don't have any infection, so there's no antibiotics that I could give you. I'm going to give you a, a beverage analgesic, which once you swish, it'll soothe and relieve the pain in your throat, which does look a little red, but she didn't say anything further. She didn't decide to study it there, and that's it." Now, she misdiagnosed me because she decided to take the medical suggestion of a person that's not a medical expert, which is me, right? Now, this is where I made the mistake, homie Ricky. She asked me what my main concern was, and I answered. Now, I self diagnosed, right? Now, if you know anything, if you go to a primary care physician, there's a lot of doctors that will treat you like crap for self-diagnosing. If you go over there and say, "Oh, doctor, you know what? I've been feeling very nervous. The pit of my stomach hurts. I've been getting very sweaty palms. I think I'm suffering from anxiety." They're gonna be like, "Oh, so you did a Google search and now you think you're anxious?" They're gonna chastise you for doing your due diligence as a conscientious person, as a polymath, to try to learn for yourself what may be one of your afflictions, right? But this individual, she did not do that. She did not chastise me for self-diagnosing. So she went based off my misdiagnosis, found out that I didn't have anything that I thought I did. So she didn't treat the issue at hand. So what happened was, the homie Ricky, for another 2 days, my situation, my condition became so bad that by the time that I went back to that clinic on a Saturday, luckily enough, I went on a Saturday. They were partially opened. I was one of the first there. I waited 5 hours sleeping on the floor, crippled in pain because I could no longer move because of the intense pain in my throat. Yes, it felt like everybody had punched my body all over. My face felt like it was caved in. In that matter of a week, homie Ricky, I lost 11 pounds. all because I started breaking out into fevers for a misdiagnosed streptococcus B condition that the doctor allowed me to misdiagnose and she ran with. The second doctor that went in there, he did his due diligence. He said, okay, what hurts? Boom, 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 boom. Okay, stick out your tongue. Let me depress your tongue with the sear stick. Whoa, that's red. Whoa, you got blotchy white spots in the upper part of your roof on your palate. Your cheeks are very swollen. Does the back of your neck hurt? Can I touch right here? When he touched the side of my neck, homie Ricky, it was almost like if I was like just gonna collapse. And he goes, you got strep. And he sent the script. An hour and a half later, I went and fetched that thing. Another hour and a half later, guess what? After a week or so of lingering in pain, homie Ricky, of not eating, of not sleeping, of only sipping water to take all the pills that I was taking. I'm talking about maybe a teaspoon or two. It's all that I could take at most of liquid, of water to take in my pill. Everything was coming out orange when I urinated. It was after all that time, homie Ricky, I started to find relief. 3 hours later, I was able to take in half a cup of water. By the end of the night, I took in a full cup of water. The next day, I drank 4 big cans of coconut water that my parents brought me, that your parents brought me. Now, how do I feel? I feel all right. Right now, I feel all right, homie Ricky.
I understand. That sounds well. That was a lot, man. But what was the big revelation that you learned? You said that you were gonna tie everything.
First,
Was it that you self-diagnosed and the doctor aspect of it to get all mad and chastise you, or what was it?
exactly. If you go to a provider, act like you don't know. Just let them do everything. Let them test you for strep, COVID, flu, whatever it is. I mean, I didn't let them test me for COVID because I was like, for what? If I got COVID, I got COVID. I can't do nothing about it. If I got the flu, I got the flu. I can't do nothing about it. You can only treat the symptoms. I know how to, there's nothing you can do. But there's no way that a person would be able to treat strep B without testing for it. So let them test you. If you don't know what it is or you have an idea, don't say it, just hint at it. Let them know what your concerns are, but don't let them tell you what your concerns are, especially if you are not a medical provider. There's a lot of false and erroneous information on the internet, and a lot of it is actually true and valid. But nonetheless, since we are ill informed about the medical professions, we can misdiagnose, like in my case, and then you suffer. So, in other words, just go in there, let them know what's wrong, let them figure it out, and don't walk out there unless they figure it out. You see what I'm saying? Because been, I could have been treated days prior, homie Wiki, and because this provider allowed me to answer my own questions, I suffered as a result. And everybody knows that I'm not a medical provider. So that's the grand version, homie Ricky.
Understood. Understood. Yeah, man. I mean, yeah. To your point, um, or a very similar situation as well. I don't really go to the doctors as well as often. I rarely get sick, and then yeah, man, same thing. Like mama's remedios. A tea, a chamomile tea with a little bit of lemon and honey, and maybe a shot of tequila. That shit'll clear my throat. But and just little bit of warm Gatorade and a lot of water, and then boom. But yeah, man. I mean, yeah, that sucks, man. I usually when I do go to the doctors, I just kind of like be ignorant and be dumb. I just be like, yeah, man, I haven't really done anything. I don't really know what's wrong with me, and I let them just do their job. Um, that's usually what I go about them. Even like I have bad vision, so I go have glasses and contacts,
Mm.
and I've been using the same contacts. They're called like Aqua Dailies, bro. I've
Mhm.
been using the same contacts they're only supposed to last me 90 days, right? It was a daily one contact for a day and then just disposable, just chuck it away. I've been using the same pair of lens probably for 2 years.
Wow, come on, man.
If I were to tell a doctor that, they'd be like, "Bro, you're fucking up your eyesight. You can get bacteria and all these things." But I do my best to take good care of them, moisturize them, and all these things. But yeah, probably bad, especially when it comes down to eyesight. But yeah, I can only imagine like dental as well. I think to myself, I don't have a cavity or anything, but it's not about waiting until you get a cavity to go to the doctors. I did want to ask you, since you also don't really go to the doctors as well, are you going to, everybody has like a cutoff year. Everyone always says at the age of 40 you should go get a colonoscopy. Do you plan on doing something like that or no? Go check your prostate gland and stuff.
Um, yeah, no, Ricky, homie Ricky. Look, I'm a mature individual, right?
Yeah.
Um, I understand the necessity to get yourself tested and for all those things and whatnot. But I'm also, I wouldn't say I'm superstitious, um, or anything like that. But I'm the type of person that if you got something good going on, let it be, right? Um, leave well enough alone. Now, this is gonna be a cause of embarrassment for me. I'm gonna say right now. I'm sure that a lot of people are just gonna go crazy on me for this. But I received the COVID vaccine about 2 years ago after protesting against my company on medical and health related reasons to why they should let me go without receiving it. Primarily because I am the type of person that believes that your mind and your body is your temple. So I do try and remain physically fit and strong. I do as much athletics and mental well-being practices as possible, so that I don't have to find myself in a venue of medical attention or under the guidance of a medical professional to help me deal with the everyday aches and pains that can come from being a very busy individual in this American society, right? Um, and first off, homie Ricky, you got to understand one thing. If I fight, if I refuse or I try to refuse the this COVID vaccine mandate, because in my company became a mandate. I fought it for I guess like a year and a half or so, um, on spiritual reasons. You know, I don't think anyone has the right to question what your spiritualism consists of. Now, if they wanted to question me about my spiritualism, I've been with this company for close to 2 decades. Very reputable company, Fortune 500. I've done a lot of contract work for them. I've had very prosperous years with them. I value the opportunities they've provided me. They've escalated me up and down the chambers of success and opportunity. That
Yo, man, get to the point, bro. Come on, bro.
long story short, my attempts at having not received the vaccine were all for naught, and I ended up receiving the vaccine about a year and a half ago. And guess what, homie Ricky? After 35 or so years of not going to see a doctor, the last time I went in there was so that they could pull my wisdom teeth in order to fit me for braces. Guess what? All of a sudden, I've been sick. Um,
Yeah, man, I understand.
do I want somebody to stick a finger up my anus in order to detect if I have colon cancer? No. How do you prevent colon cancer as a man? Eat a lot of tomatoes. Eat a lot of foods and fruits like tomatoes and apples and all of those things to clean out your colon walls, right? Reduce the intake of protein and flesh, right? I became a vegetarian uh, when my second born was about to be born. He's 18 now. I started eating meat about 3 years ago, but I basically became a vegetarian for 15 years of my life. I believe I've prevented a lot of different ailments onto my body because of the ways that I practice my alimentation and the practices of bodybuilding. Now, I'm not a bodybuilder, but I do try to keep my body fit and in shape. So, do do you think I'm gonna go to a strange provider, male or female, and say, "Hey, I am afraid that something might happen to me when it comes to my health, and I may lose it by way of a cancer of a type that mostly affects men." No, I don't think I'm going to get tested, homie Ricky. I believe I've learned my lesson, right? The medical industry is something that just does not bode well for me. No, I'm not trying to chastise those that are faithful believers in the advances of medicine and the magical powers of human beings to be able to salubriate and heal others. No, I am a firm believer in mankind. As much as I believe in the power of man being a destructive force, similarly, I believe the man is a magician that can conquer all forces. And yes, I believe men can cure men. Unfortunately, I don't think I need curing, so I will probably forego some important medical forms of attention that would likely behoove me in the long run. But I can tell you one thing, homie Ricky, I'm going to compensate that by imbibing more water, drinking more, eating more fibrous foods, and making sure that I do not consume too much red flesh or heavy proteins. No, I'm not going to let nobody poke my butt, bro.
Listen, bro. All you gotta say is no. Like, no, I'm not going to get a colonoscopy. That's all you gotta say. You don't gotta go on this whole tangent. Look, man.
Homie Ricky, if I said what you said, the live would be
Yo,
5 minutes
dude,
long,
listen.
bro.
We're trying to talk boxing, bro. And you're over here telling a life story and your philosophy and your spiritualism and
Let's do this. Let's do
you're a
this.
spirit animal. Listen to me. Listen to
Let's
me.
do
Give
this.
me
Let's
some
do this.
comments.
You said
And
something.
Pachuco goes, saludos. I'm tired of Ryan's bullshit. Virgil. Sports Archives. Yo, what's going on to you, brother? He goes, 49ers, though. Sports Archives also goes, T-Law got injured. T-Law is Trevor Lawrence, quarterback from the Jacksonville Jaguars. He suffered high ankle sprain in a very
Wow.
good and entertaining game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And which sucks because the Jaguars are a very good team. Just like any team, when healthy, you got the best players on the field. You got a good chance of winning. The Jaguars could be one of those, could have been, or could be one of those potential teams that that go to the Super Bowl. Um, on
No,
that,
you know what? First, I know this is unrelated to us, the homie Ricky, but now that you are mentioning El Pachuco, Pachuco, saludos to you, sir. I hope that you are having a wonderful night. I hope that you've never been sickly, such as myself. Sports archives, similar to you, sir. Salutes, saludos to you, salutations in English, so forth and so on. Um, Look,
that's it. That's
I,
it. El Pachuco
no, no,
goes.
no. I want to thank Pachuco for something. I'm a listener of this podcast called the BDA Boxing Show. Right? I'm not too sure if you've ever heard of it, homie Ricky. But saludos to Pachuco because he donated a 50 spot to the BDA show. Um, that was cool because there are shows that do provide a lot of value when it comes to our entertainment and knowledge of the sport. And the BDA show is one of them. Especially BDA, he's a very good interlocutor. He's very fair. He's funny. He does more than just boxing talk, and he lets everybody have a go at it. He's a free speech type of individual, so all hell breaks loose at some occasions. But when he donated that 50 spotter, I just was like, I was reminded of the time when there was a show called Speak Your Mind Sports Talk. Have you ever heard of it? And Speaker Mind Sports Talk was ran by D. Jefferson, black fella, I think out of Cleveland, Ohio, or something like that. Nonetheless, he was a very astute boxing fan. He was
Oh, right,
biased.
right, right. So saludos to Pachuco for donating to a really renowned boxing channel that's been probably around for like 15 years.
Oh,
You know, you don't
goodness.
gotta go on into, the conversations that you had. Look, man, saludos Pachuco for being a supporter for BDA. Keep it short, man. You gotta learn how to be concise.
You want to
You get
talk boxing,
popular,
right?
then you still continue to talk. Look, man, what do you think about Ryan Garcia? Do you think what are your thoughts about the fight that he had against Oscar Duarte? For all the bitching and bickering that Ryan goes about, that Golden Boy is conspiring against him. I don't know about you, but that ref in Houston, Texas, oh my God, how much more can you protect Ryan? Like, he was warning Duarte for low blows, hitting on the kidney, hitting behind the head. You like, do you understand that Ryan is ducking? You know that he's turning his
Mm-hmm.
back. So for all this
Mm-hmm.
shenanigans, Oscar sure as hell is paying refs and judges to favor and pander and protect Ryan Garcia from, oh my God, punches. So
Mm-hmm.
what were your thoughts on the fight? Were you impressed by Ryan Garcia? What's your thoughts of the feud of him and these little child petulant acts, that tantrums that Ryan throws? And what the hell did you think about Oscar Duarte? Because just to
Well,
keep it
let's.
short, I've never seen
Mhm.
Duarte. That was my first showing. He looked the part. He looked like he would be a tough fucking fighter. He looked like Montes Stanionis in terms of a body build. Had a high, tight defense. And then next to you know, all those muscles, he gets hit with a little temple shot. Fucker takes a knee. And then he tries to get up at 9.5. And I'm like, bro, where's your dog in you? You have this dude running around from you. And then, like, where is that fucking Sinaloa bloodline in you, bro? That dude's fucking a pussy. Anyway, what do you think about the fight, man?
Well, let's just answer one of those questions, which is, was I impressed by Ryan Garcia? And I'm gonna say yes. I was impressed by Ryan Garcia, but I was not impressed. But I was not impressed favorably. I was negatively impressed. Ryan Garcia left a lasting impression on me about how he is one of the most degraded fighters that the sport of boxing currently has. Next to, guess what? Rolly Romero, which coincidentally enough, he called out post fight. Homie Ricky, one of the reasons that people gave any kind of credibility to this fight between Oscar Duarte and Ryan Garcia was because people were under the assumption that Oscar de la Hoya was trying to screw over Ryan Garcia because of some personal disdain, because of the fact that he took on this fight with Ryan Garcia, with Tank Davis against their advice of Bernard Hopkins and Oscar de la Hoya, for the bad mouthing that he's been, providing in the videos, current and past, about Golden Boy, about how he's been mishandled and mistrusted, and about how his promoters and his handlers are bad men, and how he's a Christian, they are bad. People were under the impression that Oscar De La Hoya was really trying to pit Ryan Garcia against another Oscar in order to have him defeated, right? And the more you look at the facts, the homie Ricky, you have to assume that that was just an illogical way of looking at this fight. See, here's the thing, homie Ricky. When a person has a fight, like the one that Ryan Garcia had just prior to this one with Gervonta Tank Davis, which leads to a defeat. The first thing that people expect is that the next fight that that fighter who just lost will be a soft touch. That they need something to perk them up in their spirits in order to continue to find that fighting spirit to go on and do something after that fight. Now, when they put on Duarte, right, Oscar Duarte, people kept exclaiming and bringing up the fact that he was in an 11 fight knockout streak, which is a matter of fact, homie Ricky. He really had an outstanding 11 fight in a row knockout streak, which included people being knocked out and not being able to get up. And he also included people that just retired on the bench. right? He retired a few fighters. There was people that just refused to fight. Now, look, this guy comes out of nowhere, right? So if you just look blindly at the box rec and you start looking at a record like that, you can either say, man, this guy's a beast, or you can say, whoa, this guy has a padded record. Now, I did a quick search on him, before the fight took place, and I'd been doing so before. Watching the highlights and all of those things, and the guy looked legit. He was really doing the right things, going to the body, investing heavily, doing combos, pressing the action, good proper placement. But then you start looking at the names that he's fought, and he barely started to pick up steam the last 2 or 3 fights, homie Ricky. If you want, you can pull up Oscar Duarte's box rec, and I encourage you to see which one of those names you recognize. And then I want you to look at those guys' records. And then you'll see guys that have, some of them barely touch the double digits, but in their loss column, it's very close to double digits. At most, you'll find a fighter maybe with 25 wins, 12 losses, and a few draws. That's a good fight, but a good fighter. But he's not a world killer, right? So Oscar Duarte was much better than the men he was fighting. That we can infer, right? But when you look at the names, and there ain't no prior champions, whether former champions or notable up and comers or top 10. When you look at that, homie Ricky, you just have to say he's better than all of these guys who ain't nothing, right? There are people that are going to be so good, even in comparison to where you are in your career, where you just shine. But if you look closely, you do not find too many fighters in Oscar Duarte's career that he fought in similar situations or a similar point in their career. There was no 10 and 0 versus 10 and 0. You didn't have 20 and 1 versus 20 and 1. You didn't have that. You just had names all over the place, uh, lots of those that didn't have much knockout power. And guess what? Oscar Duarte was good enough to beat those guys. Now, we couple that with the fact that Ryan Garcia just took a loss. So we expect that if Golden Boy really wanted to invest in this cash cow, that they would put him against an easy touch in order to, again, perk him up, pad his record, and get him another opportunity to advance, especially when he's trying to acclimate himself to 140. But when you look at this guy's record, you would think this guy is too tough for a fight right after you having lost a fight to a fighter the caliber of Gervonta Tank Davis. But here's the thing, homie Ricky, the best fighters in the world, right? They can lose one and learn from that loss, especially if they lose to one of the better fighters in the world. And in the people's eyes, a lot of the people, maybe not myself so much, Gervonta Davis is one of the best fighters in the world. So if you look at that and you saw how Ryan Garcia fought, how you remember how he fought. He fought as a come forward, aggressive, albeit defensively flawed, but successful at being an aggressor against Gervonta Tank Davis because of that reach, that jab, and the combo throwing. It did not fare well for him at the long run, but he was doing well when he employed that come forward aggression. And this is not what we saw in Ryan Garcia. We saw quite the opposite, homie Ricky. We saw a guy who was on the back foot. In fact, for 2 rounds,
Whoa,
he
whoa, whoa,
ran.
whoa. All right, hold on, hold on. I don't need a recap of the fight. I watched the fight. I don't need to read the details and the specifics, man. Look, I understand I understand where you're going with this. I'm gonna say this: you were not impressed by his performance, only negatively impressed. Look, he looked
Yes.
like shit with Derrick James.
Hmm.
I know
Yeah.
Derrick James does not teach the shoulder roll, all right? Because Jermel Charlo don't use a shoulder roll. Errol Spence don't use a shoulder roll. Anthony Joshua don't use a shoulder roll. I've never seen Frank Martin really use a shoulder roll. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what the hell Ryan Garcia was doing. Okay, he looked horrible. Um, Duarte, I was not impressed by him, man. Look, you said something that he was on a 11 KO knockout streak. Well, whatever he did or whoever he was fighting, he didn't carry it into this fight. I think there was only 3 good rounds of that fight that were somewhat competitive. The first 3 or 4, Duarte didn't even throw nothing. Basically just gave Ryan those rounds. And then the moments that he was having success, Ryan was running. He finally started doubling up the left hook. But the ref didn't really allow Duarte to really fight and impose his will. And then finally, when he gets somewhat hit flush, then he decides to quit. I was not impressed by Duarte, to be honest with you. I don't know if he's a 142, 140, 135 pound fighter, but if there was ever a moment where you have the stage where there is this perceived threat or the narrative is that, oh, Oscar is setting up Ryan Garcia to lose. I sure as hell couldn't tell by that performance on Saturday. I mean, I didn't see that. I didn't see Duarte really have any effort. Like, dude, Duarte didn't even know how to cut off the ring. Like, like he looked slow. I know in the most of the fight footages that I saw, he looked slow. He did look like he packed a good punch. Obviously, you can see. But yeah, man, I was hoping Duarte would give a good account of himself. And look, man, temple shots. I've gotten dropped by temple shots when I've sparred and boxed. I got up. My gloves touched the ground. I never really did the stanky leg, but I do get wobbled. Because it's a good temple shot. It hits you in the side of the head, on the ear. You lose your balance for a little bit, but guess what? You get up. Duarte took a fucking knee. And he didn't even, and he kind of like Ryan, he got up at 10, essentially. 9.5. Like, where's el machismo? Where's el orgullo? Where's your pride? And then he starts to complain, like, nah, man,
Yeah.
I that's the selling of like, he's a fucking sellout. He's a vendido. I was not impressed by Duarte. He's gonna have to do some miraculous things in his next 10 fights for me to even care to watch his journey of a pro fighter. That was horrible, man. That was a
Yeah.
terrible account and representative of himself. And yeah, dude, I was just unimpressed by the whole main event. Ryan, look, man, if he's not, when I saw him in the corner of Derrick James, he refused to sit down. He refused to pay attention to the instruction of Derrick James. And again, if Ryan isn't going to listen to Oscar De La Hoya, if he wasn't going to listen to Eddie Reynoso and Canelo, and if he's not going to listen to Derrick James, what is he fighting for, man? Like, I don't know about you, but I don't care to watch Ryan Garcia versus Rolly Romero. Like, I don't, like, Rolly Romero should not be a champion. They robbed that 40-year-old Ismael Barroso. And guess what? Barroso actually has to fight a good little fighter in O'Hara Davis. Why does Rolly just get to sit back and just chill and just be like, yeah, I'm going to get a Ryan fight? Right? Ryan has not earned that fight. How is Duarte even, a sanctioned bout for, a 140 title belt? Look, man, I don't know, man. Boxing, this is the reason why boxing is dying. This is the reason why Showtime left. Because I'm going to put the responsibility on Oscar De La Hoya, man. He's allowing the shenanigans. Trade that fucking guy, bro. Ryan's horrible, man. He's horrible. There's no good trait about him. He's got horrible footwork. He's not slick. He got a good left hook, and that's it. There's no jab. There's no body work. There's no good right hand. The dude's a slapper. His build-ups suck. His crying and his mental illness and all this mental, I don't know what the fuck, bro. Look, Jose Benavidez got shot in the leg, bro. Not one time, if there was ever a fighter that had excuses to cry about life and just be like, man, why me? Not one time do you see Jose Benavidez bitch about it, bro. You know what I'm saying? When I talk about real fighters, I talk about those fighters. Jose Benavidez is a real fucking fighter, a limited fighter. But imagine had he had a healthy body. He might win those fucking fights. Look, bro, the shenanigans of boxing start with Ryan Garcia. Start and end with Ryan Garcia. That would be a start. Have that dude fucking fight in the great and all those misfit fighters that you like to watch, bro. Like Ryan Garcia, dude, man, like not to be like shit all over the kid, bro. But if he's gonna shit all over Bernard Hopkins and these legends, fuck him. That's the way I look at Ryan Garcia, man. I don't really care too much
Yeah.
about his career. Oscar De La Hoya should focus on Billy Cepeda, Arnold Barbosa, guys that actually si le van a echar la lucha, bro. Like,
The only thing about that, the homie Ricky, is this, right? You're saying that Oscar De La Hoya should trade Ryan Garcia,
trade him, man.
and this ain't football, right? He's got a
Yeah,
contract. He's got a contract. I don't think you can trade a fighter to another when there's an active contract. There's bonds and obligations that you must abide by. And that's another one of the things that I wanted to bring up as one of the reasons for why people found this offering to be intriguing, right? Again, people found the fact that Ryan Garcia was to fight this unknown threat, which people really thought that it was a setup, and Oscar Duarte, because they didn't, one, ain't know about him, and two, he was obviously a powerful, skillful enough fighter to be knocking out everybody right after Ryan Garcia just lost, right? And it's not just like he lost, he actually quit. So when you put that up there with the fact that Ryan Garcia most recently levied a lawsuit against Oscar De La Hoya, and Oscar De La Hoya responded in like in a countersuit, you have to think there is so much animosity between these two parties that it is reasonable to expect that Oscar De La Hoya is going to try to put a little quick one to try and screw over Ryan Garcia. But here's the thing, homie Ricky. If Oscar De La Hoya wanted to screw Ryan Garcia for a loss, he would not have A, put him up against a 135 pounder and allowed him to catch weight him by 8 pounds. That's the other thing I wanted to bring up to your attention, homie Ricky, when you asked, you don't know if Duarte fights at 140, 141, or 143. Oscar Duarte fights at 135. He's never fought over 135. And Oscar De La Hoya consented to Ryan Garcia fighting a smaller man, even though Ryan Garcia has already had 2 prior fights as catchweights. One with Tank Davis and the other one with Pierre Fortuna, if I'm not mistaken, and this one a consecutive third, that have gone legally into the realm of the 140 division, right? He brought up a smaller, unknown fighter who, as I just argued, had never fought anybody of note. And yes, he was good enough to stop him. But he also put him up in a weight division that he's never fought in and catch weighted him until 143.
yeah,
143. The homie
that
Ricky.
definitely sounds like Oscar setting up Ryan Garcia to lose. Look, man.
No, that sounds like Oscar is consenting to allow Ryan Garcia to win.
I know. Yeah, I was
So it's Zach. Oh, okay.
No,
You're being facetious.
look,
But here's another one, the homie Ricky.
but
Wait
I
up. It
don't
gets
wanna.
further. It goes further,
I don't
right?
want to talk
Bec-
about Ryan no more, bro.
no,
Like,
no, that's fine because
there,
a lot of people have never considered why they thought this fight was going to be anything but an easy, soft touch for Ryan. See, everybody was under the impression that he was under threat, and I kept saying, guys, who is Oscar Duarte? Who is Oscar Duarte? I told everybody, Oscar Duarte is a fighter that Ryan Garcia has seen before. Ryan Garcia is a fighter that Oscar Duarte has never seen before, right? And it doesn't matter that he's technically flawed and everything like that. Ryan Garcia is still a very powerful, very quick, limited fighter that can K you out. Remember, we talked about this. He is the only fighter to have knocked out and stopped Luke Campbell, an Olympian for Britain, when Lomachenko, my favorite fighter, and neither Jorge Linares, a fourth division champion, one of the most offensive, technically skilled fighters of all time. He couldn't stop that man.
That would be a
Ryan,
good fight. Linares versus Ryan Garcia. Look, man, let me ask you something. Uh, have you
you get in
seen
my
this?
vibe, bro.
Have you seen this face off between Devin Haney and Regis Prograis, bro? Yo,
No,
yo,
I
yo.
haven't. I have not. But I'm talking about Ryan Garcia, bro.
Look,
Let's
man,
keep it
that's
simple.
over and done with. That's over and
No,
done
it's
with,
not
bro.
over and
No,
done
no,
with.
hold on.
It's not over and done with because
Listen,
I'm trying
I
to
want
get
to
to
show
my
you this.
point.
I want
What
to
up?
show you this.
Oh, no, you got short term attention span.
Man, we talked about him for like 2 hours.
No, we did not.
No.
See, you think I lose in Mexico? You gonna hurt? No, yeah, hurt my ass. So you hurt? Yeah, you say you not, but you got no power, bro. You got no. You got dropped your last fight. 15 knockouts. Who you knocked out? Who you knocked out? You got dropped your last. That's cool. That's cool. Nobody never heard of. That's cool. That's cool. Exactly. That's cool. You don't got no chin. How about that? I ain't got no chin. You just got dropped against nobody ever heard of. All right. That's cool. How many knockouts he had? Probably more than you. Against we never heard of. Who you knocked out? You never heard of, right? Who did you knock? You got 15 knockouts. Name you knocked out. Yeah, you laughing out. Nobody, bro. Nobody.
Look, bro. Ryan needs to
I've
step
not
up.
been following. I've not been following the build up. I've not been watching these face offs. I barely got to watch like a 4 minute video just released about an hour ago, where Devin Haney and his camp meet up with Reach's program, the Lewis and the boys, atop of the Golden Gate Bridge, and then they start bickering and talking bad about each other as these two men uh, face each other. Um, that was fun. I liked it. Um,
But you
but
see,
but but
that's
this
the
is the kind
point.
of fight, the homie Ricky. This is the kind of fight that I don't need. The conniving machinations of promotions and shady characters and he said she says to make it exciting, like a Ryan Garcia versus Oscar Duarte fight. This right here is one of those fights that I don't need to watch all that ballyhoo, and I'm gonna watch it, and my heart is already thumping because this fight night portends so much incredible action. This fight night is gonna prove whether Regis Prograb was ever the guy, which we know he is, and if Devin Haney was ever the guy, and we know he is. But in the eyes of many, none of them are, right? But I don't need the convincing. I don't need the convincing.
Man,
But I assure you, a lot of people were talking more about Ryan Garcia and Oscar Duarte more than this fight right here. But they needed all that other fancy schmancy smoke and mirror stuff in order to sell the significance of the fight. An obscure dark horse fighter coming out of nowhere with power, taking on a victimized quitter and glorified limited fighter and Ryan Garcia. Golden Boy is out to get Ryan. Ryan hates Oscar De La Hoya because he's the devil. And then we have these type of fighters who are just gonna go out there. And yeah, they talk a little smack, but I wouldn't know about it because I don't need to follow that because I know these guys are fighting the best. You see what I'm saying, homie Ricky? There is no question who these men are.
li- right. I understand. Look, man. I got Regis beating Devin Haney, bro. The same Regis that fought Josh Taylor. And for those that didn't or haven't seen that fight, Regis Prograis, the gentleman to my right hand side, right, or the right side of the screen, he fought a guy who became undisputed in Josh Taylor, a legendary run. I hate Josh Taylor, right? He beat my guy Jose Ramirez from Fresno, and yeah, he beat a lot of fighters. If that Regis Prograis shows up, not the Regis that we saw against Danielito Sorria, who is a pretty good fighter himself. Now, a lot of people ain't heard of the dude, but he also hurt Arnold Barbosa, who just signed to Golden Boy. He hurt him in the last round. So that lets me know that Danielito Sorria carries the punch and he carries the punch late. Well, anyway, Regis Prograis looked like shit in that fight. We could expect Devin to run and circle out in that, but I don't think so, man. I think Devin is going to want to cement himself at 140. I think he's going to try to outshine Teofimo Lopez. I think we're going to get a fight similar how Devin Haney fought Jorge Linares, right? An aging older fighter that still has it. Same thing with Rodriguez Pro Gray. I think that's the type of fight that we're going to get. We're going to see Devin Haney, the young 24-year-old, land a 3-to-1 ratio punches. For every 3 punches that he lands, Rodriguez is going to land one in between. I'm interested in that. I think that's the fight that we're going to get. I think Rodriguez will win. But we'll see, man. It's gonna be a really interesting fight. But yeah, brother, it is gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun. I don't really know what much to think about it, but yeah, man, you're gonna hold it down. I'm gonna start cleaning up, but do your thing. Talk whatever you want to talk.
Okay. Well, that's right here of our listeners. First off, and I would just like to remind you all, and I say it all the time, I feel blessed and very happy whenever I run into our listeners. Anybody who decides to engage us by sending a chat or providing an input to what we are saying uh, deserves our respect and our attention. And I always say, I encourage you to participate more right now that we are a very small venue because we will address your comments. In other channels, your comments go by quick and nobody reads them. This is not that show yet. It'll probably be many, many moons before we ever get to that point right there. But in the meantime, there is men like El Pacho, Sports Archive, and Mr. Vince Vargas, our very first commentator, who are always going to be welcomed here, and they always bring a little excitement and a little smile to my heart. So, gentlemen, once again, for hopping back on this here live, listening in to me talking about all things disease and colonoscopies and whoop de woo and blah blah blah, and throwing in a couple of critiques on fighters such as Ryan Garcia. El Pachuco says a blockbuster trade. Ryan Benavides. Jeez. We would have to look into what Golden Boy can provide Benavides. He does have Mungia, and then he's got Shane mostly. I think he's fighting at 160. Yeah, for maybe for a 1 or 2 fight thing, just to why not? Why not play like baseball cards or Pokemon. Trade one for another one. A partnering system where people can cross over and fight. You give me one of your guys, so I can make this fight. You give me one of your guys, one of my guys, so you can have one of those fights. I think that's a very good idea. And yeah, I can see why one promoter would like to get rid of Ryan Garcia. But then again, I also can see why another promoter might want to pick him up. Um, the homie Ricky goes on and talks about the Niners. I don't know nothing about that. Mr. Vince Vargas says that Duarte, Ryan G, thumbs up, was good until Duarte got wobbled. Yeah, I agree. Duarte was doing well until he got wobbled. Contrary to what homie Ricky states, where he believes that Duarte, in his impression, wasn't really doing much. I believe he was being successful in pressing the action, even though he had the third man in the ring working against him. He was being admonished and called out on for every single type of punch that he threw. And what the third man in the ring was negating was the fact that it was all due to the fact that Ryan Garcia was assuming this crazy old, ridiculously slanted uh, shoulder roll position, and to some extent the Philly show, because that is a system of defense. One and the other usually go hand in hand. But he was doing this shoulder roll at such a turn that he was basically turning his back to his nemesis. And if you throw a punch in the back of a fighter where he's exposed because of his spinal column and whatnot, it would be interpreted by some refs as an illegal punch, something to be admonished and curtailed and brought up to their attention so they won't do it. But it's not like Duarte was throwing it intentionally. He had no alternative because he couldn't get on the inside because the other guy was basically turning against him, going around and giving his back to him. So that would, one, limit the type of punches that Duarte would do. And secondly, he was also turning his back against his foe, which in some circles would mean that they would disqualify him and stop the fight because of attrition. He would, in essence, be walking away from the fight. And trust me, I've seen fights where a guy gets punched, he turns his back, and then they stop the fight because when you turn your back to your opponent, you don't know what's coming. And a punch can be a loopy punch from the back, strike you on the side when you're not looking, and now you're completely vulnerable to a devastating knockout, which could really land hard and drop you hard with the very serious consequence. That is what the ref should have considered, and he should have admonished Ryan Garcia for doing so. But instead, Duarte was being told not to throw punches. So Duarte would have to be creative and throw around the guard with these loopy punches, and he started to break down to some extent the body of Ryan Garcia. So he started to move less for a moment until he got his second win and started running around. I think it was in his sixth and seventh. He literally started running around in circles, guys. It was ridiculous. Um, but I do want to say one thing about Duarte. Even though I was one of the people that was saying, listen, guys, there is no reason to believe that Oscar Duarte is this world killer based on the count that he is coming off of 11 knockout streak because he's done it against nobodies. And second of all, Ryan Garcia has seen this type of fighter, but yet Duarte has never seen a type of fighter like Garcia. And secondly, there is no indication that Oscar De La Hoya would like to go against Ryan and make him a loser because guess what, guys? He still has fights under his contract. See, one of the things that a lot of people don't address is the fact that in 2019, around October of 2019, after bickering about negotiating tactics and why Garcia thought that he deserved better opportunities and better pay. We're playing hardball on renewing the contract that Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Pro Promotions was offering that young fella back in 2019. I think he was 23 or 24 then. Long story short, this was at the heyday of all the controversial activities, should we say, of a Mr. Oscar De La Hoya, which we will never talk about in this year's show. But there was a lot of hardball negotiations, and these two men's disputes came to the fore. There was a lot of news reporting about them. It really didn't seem that Oscar De La Hoya would figure out a way how to extend a contract with Ryan Garcia. But sure enough, whatever he promised him, he got him for another 4-year contract, which, if you did not know this, ladies and gentlemen, was due to term out on this year, November 2023. A 4-year contract from 2019 to 2023, and actually probably earlier because Ryan Garcia tried to walk away from his contract, presenting a lawsuit against the Golden Boy Promotions around June, July of this year, of which Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions retorted against by presenting a counter suit saying that Ryan Garcia had not met his obligations of the terms of the contract. Now, let's look at what's happened between 2019 and 2023. In those 4 years, Ryan Garcia has only fought 7 times, right? Now, that means that in 4 years, he almost fought at an average of one fight, I don't know, guys, every 9 months or so, right? Because if it was 4 years, 4 fights, that would be, one a year. 7 fights would be closer to 8, 9 months apart. Oscar de la Hoya won the right to hold on to Ryan Garcia for another fight, which would have been the seventh one with Oscar Duarte, because in the contract it was stated, obviously, that it was not a contract due to a term, in other words, time frame, but a term contingent on an amount of fights. In other words, in 4 years, Oscar de la Hoya probably wrote a contract that said, in these 4 years, you, Ryan Garcia, have to promise me at least 8 fights, which is quite reasonable in modern boxing, right? One fight every 6 months. That's enough of building time, promotion time, and so forth and so on. But so far, Ryan Garcia had only abided by 6. There was a very long extension of time, an interregnum, if you would, where Ryan Garcia was inactive due to, in case you guys want to answer this part, do you guys remember why Ryan Garcia walked away for the sport for a little while? Yes, I know you guys know this. Ryan Garcia refused to fight for a while on account that he was suffering from mental health. Ryan Garcia was going through some kind of personal issues with this baby mama, or so they say. And Ryan Garcia used that as an excuse to not fight for like about a year and a half, or close to it. I believe that that ended up biting Ryan Garcia in the behind. When he thought that he was just gonna term out his contract, only offer 6 fights for Oscar, and then say, hey, here we are, November 2023, whoop de woo, I'm done with you. Oscar hit him with the, guess what? There's an 8 fight obligation. You've only pulled 6. One of those you went against my advice, and the 7th one I'm about to put you in against this sorry about that, against this Mexican. And guess what, guys? That would mean, if I am correct, there is another fight still out there that Oscar de la Hoya is gonna use Ryan Garcia for. So he cannot trade for Benavides or anybody, because he still has him for one more fight. Now, if Oscar de la Hoya is ever gonna screw Ryan, it wouldn't have been with Duarte, where he allows him to catch weight and by 8 pounds at a weight class that Duarte has never fought, against a guy who's never fought anybody of note. If he wanted to really screw Ryan Garcia, he would put him up against a killer, a more legitimate killer. Like, anybody want to ask? Anybody want to take a gander or a guess at who I may be referring to? This guy is a 135 pounder. One of the most highest output fighters in boxing currently. He stops men, knocks him out, goes to the body, goes to the head. About 1,000 punches is what he throws in one fight. Oh, well, no idea, Mr. Vargas. Well, let me answer that myself. I guess it was I was hoping you guys would answer it, but it's sort of rhetorical. William Camarón Cepeda, another Mexican, red-headed kid with boils and pimples on his back, who throws a lot of punches, who's fought way better names than Oscar Duarte ever has. Who's actually been ranked, who's actually been called out by Shakur Stevens and Frank Martin and all of them cats. If Oscar de la Hoya wanted to screw over Ryan Garcia and tried to more assuredly secure a loss for him to term out his contract, as a way of getting back for him, back uh, uh, against him for all the stuff that Ryan has done against him. That's the guy that's in your ranks and your same promotion that you can easily make a fight with. But you would have to adhere to a weight class with no catch weight because that would have to be 140. He would still be bringing up William Cepeda 5 pounds, but Ryan Garcia is not an A side fighter because the guy who pays the A side is going to be the promoter. And Oscar De La Hoya has enough influence and power to say, hey, I will pay you this much, but you're fighting at 140. If he wants to be lenient with Ryan Garcia. But if he wants to, he could be like, you got to stick at 135, which is this, where you've been fighting. Now, Oscar De La Hoya won that lawsuit. That's why this fight, and that's why there's no talk about the contract being up, because again, I believe that Oscar De La Hoya had a term contract that was contingent on an amount of fights. I think it's 8 because I think a fight every 6 months is very reasonable and achievable, but it could be 10 fights. He could have made more fights in between that year or so when Ryan Garcia was alleging to suffer from mental health issues. I don't know, but no one seems to know enough about this contract. All they know is that people thought Oscar De La Hoya was trying to screw Ryan Garcia because his contract was up, because he was talking bad about him, whoop de whoop, blah blah blah. No, as far as Oscar is concerned, the more Ryan Garcia can win and look good at it, the more money he can make, especially after Ryan Garcia just sold 1.2 million pay-per-views against Gervonta Tank Davis and pocketed about 30 cool million for himself. He knows he's got a cash cow. And that's the funny thing about Ryan Garcia. That Ryan Garcia stuck to his guns. And yeah, he had a bad deal and everything. He ended up losing and he ended up quitting and, so forth and so on. But he still netted a hefty sum, an amount that a lot of other fighters that are doing way bigger and greater things in the sport will never see. Why? Because Ryan Garcia has the casuals in his pocket. Ryan Garcia is the Johnny come lately with the twinkle in his eye and the $1 million smile. And all the teenage girls go crazy for him. And because some of us boxing hardcores really thought he was good enough to face somebody the caliber of Gervonta Tank Davis. And I understand why we thought that. Because Gervonta Tank Davis also hasn't fought anybody, right? Um, what occurred over this weekend, contrary to what the homie Ricky is saying, that Oscar Duarte didn't look good out there. He looked like a novice. He didn't know how to cut off the ring and all those things. I see it quite the opposite. I see it as Oscar Duarte, who's never fought a fighter like Ryan Garcia. That's not necessarily saying a good thing. That just means he's never fought in a fighter like Ryan Garcia. Somebody fast, somebody powerful, who has a promotional machine behind him. He's never fought in somebody like that. And he's never fought in any notable names. And he still gave a very good account of himself to the point that he ended up making the at-home fighter get booed in a stadium where he's fought him before in Texas. And he had him running around, literally running around and giving his back for 2 rounds. I commend Oscar Duarte for coming to fight and making Ryan Garcia the exposed fighter that he should have been. A fighter that, in one, has quit at the highest of moments. Secondly, decides to cower before the physicality of a smaller man who he had to catch weight by 8 pounds and who he had never fought in anybody that good. Oscar Duarte stepped up to the plate. Oscar Duarte did as much as he can, and for the most part, he won some very good rounds. He made it a close fight, and he made Ryan Garcia look ridiculous with that shell or whatever. Um, Oscar Duarte had a lot of things going against him, and he still was able to come through. But at the end of the day, like I had been telling people in the boxing circles, Brian Garcia has seen this type of fighter before, and he was gonna figure him out. And he did. In fact, I was quite surprised that he looked so bad up until the moment that he stopped him, because I was thinking, oh man, I mean, I think Ryan's still gonna win somehow, but yo, this is not what I expected. I really thought Ryan Garcia was gonna figure him out and look good while doing so. But Ryan Garcia is a shocked fighter who's obviously still traumatized by being knocked out and being forced to quit by taking a body punch, and he still thinks that God is on the side. I'm not too sure what this holier than thou persona that he is assuming is. I don't question his Christianity. I don't. I believe he is a man of faith. And I do believe that as a man of faith, he probably sees some devilishness in Oscar de la Hoya, a man that we do know he has some vices, a lot of them having to do with substances and the femininity of the opposite sex. We do know that. And he probably cannot bear fighting for this man who goes contrary to what he believes in. But here's the thing, guys. Ryan Garcia is no saint. Ryan Garcia is arrogant. Ryan Garcia walks to the beat of his own drum, and it has worked out for him so far. He's netted a big amount. But like the homie Ricky said, if we cannot count on Ryan Garcia to learn under the tutelage of men such as Joe Goosen, Derek James, Eddie Reynoso, and all those incredible legends, if we start seeing them regress and worsen with every outing, instead of getting better, instead of looking better after fighting somebody like Gervonta Tank Davis, where you were actually looking like you were going to win, and you look this bad against somebody the caliber of Cepeda, if we are hoping that the sport of boxing hedges any of its success on a fighter like Ryan Garcia, it's not going to be because of his success as a fighter in the sport. Because if there's any fighter out there, guys, that I would bet is going to be the least likely to become a champion, that is Ryan Garcia. And the reason I say that, of course, is because there is some likelihood that Rolly Romero could beat him if they fight each other. I know that sounds ridiculous. I can't believe I said that. That is one of the stupidest takes of all. But we are discussing two of the worst fighters in the world currently. But yet, I trust the danger and the abandon and the willingness to fight of Rolly Romero more than I trust the faith and arrogance and the know-it-all, bombastic attitude of Ryan Garcia and his very powerful and quick left hook. I don't know what else to say. I sure hope that Ryan Garcia does not have an opportunity to become a champion. And if he ever becomes a champion, then I hope he gets to fight somebody that is a legitimate fighter who takes himself seriously. who is not being spoon fed and kid gloved, and he fights somebody like Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney, Regis Progra, Subriel Matias, Jose Sean Cepeda, JC Ramirez, Taylor, any of those guys. Because they will utterly destroy him, completely destroy him, outdog him, and teach him you don't play boxing because Ryan Garcia has been boxing and playing the sport like he's been playing a lot of his fans. Let's read a couple of these comments. Okay, let's see. El Pachuco says, okay, let's see. I think we have to go back a little more. Richard Torres Jr. Yeah, no, it's a little even further than that. Writes, the fight was disappointing. Catch weight and everything that you guys discussed tuned me out of interest. Duarte was small compared to Ryan. The shame. The shame. In fact, Ryan Garcia didn't even fight at 140. He fought at 147. If you think about it, that's two weight classes over Oscar Duarte. Ridiculous. Mr. Vince Vargas, in one of his emojis, there's a big old truck right there, big rig. Troquero, he says Richard Torres Jr. fights on Saturday as well. I love that guy. That guy promises a round and a half before he knocks out somebody. That's I love it. Like I mean, and he's prolific. He fights 3, 4, 5 times a year. Always, well, he has to. He's knocking people out in one round. And everybody says, "Oh, well, who's he fighting?" Well, come on, guys. He has 8 fights, 9 fights, 10 fights, whatever. He himself is also nobody. He's also an Olympian, and we know about Olympians. Just because you are a former Olympian does not mean you are going to be a successful professional fighter. Richard Torres Jr. fights on Saturday as well. Not sure what the card looks like, but ESPN is not sure if ESPN will have some main events. I'm sure they will. I haven't checked. But we'll look into that as the days progress, Mr. Vargas. I'm interested in watching every single fight. I believe I am going to be watching the Devin Haney fight. So if that conflicts with the ESPN event, well, then that's just going to be it. But I have developed a respect and a fondness for Devin Haney, which I'm bringing a funny little joke about. No, I'm not gonna. But let's just say Pachuco said something hilarious about Devin Haney, and that was an actual sudden guffaw. I actually chuckled forcibly because of something that he typed in another venue, which was just hilarious to me. And Pachuco goes on and says, "I think it's going to be similar to Haney versus Cambosos." Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're referring to Regis program and uh and uh and Devin Haney, it's it's the fact that and I apologize to Pachuco, I don't like to think that deep about how a fight will play out. Right? I've never been the type of person that you can rely on and say, who do you think is going to win? And I'll give you a round and I'll give you a wave. No, I really am very a firm believer in the puncher's chance. I give every fighter a shot. I really believe that a miracle can happen in the sport of boxing. I'm a diehard fan of the underdog. So even if I think somebody's going to win, I'm still going to hope for the other guy. So I would never give my opinion and say that my opinion is legitimate. I can only inform and make my opinions based off information. That's why I would report it faithfully to you guys and say that I believe I'm doing you guys right by presenting information, less the opinion. But no, you may just be right. Maybe you and homie Ricky can discuss it a bit more because I'm not too sure how that fight will play out. But if you're saying that it's going to look similar to Haney versus Cambosos, I guess you're trying to say that Haney's just gonna mollywop and outclass Regis program. And I'm not too sure Pachuco, because remember, I mean, Danielito Zorrilla did make Regis program look bad. But most of those backward fighters, negative fighters that would wait for you to just chase him and not know cut off the ring so they could throw a hook and make you topple forward, those guys always do that. Sander Martin, another guy that moves accidentally, makes you chase him. That's the guy who retired. Um, uh, what's his name? From down south, Mikey Garcia. He made him look so bad. He was chasing after him, and he's a runner. They're the backwards fighting runners. They're they're not even Pernell Whitaker's, Sweet Pea, none of those guys. Those are guys that stand there and just make you miss and then they hit you. No, these guys are always walking back and making you miss, and then you just go off balance and they throw a little pitter patter punch in the side of your head, and there you go, using your momentum, more like judo than boxing. But yeah, nah. You know what? If I was Regis Progress, I would have stood my ground and say, nah, bro, come on. I'm the bell holder. You have to take it from me. If I stand here for 12 rounds right in the middle and you start running around, you're not going to win because I belt. You have to come to take it from me. I don't have to chase you, buddy. I don't have to chase you, buddy. I can stand here and be the champ. So, not trying to say you can't move in the sport. Yeah, always use your footwork. I love footwork. But there is footwork, and then there's just like running and dodging, right? Um, Mr. Vince Vargas says, Torres Jr. fighting another human punching bag again to get some reps. Top rank, thumb up. Yeah, and I think that's what I insinuated there, Mr. Vargas, that a lot of people have been saying that Richard Torres basically has been fighting no names just to basically pad his record. And there may be some truth to that. He looks like he's way better than the level of competition that he's fighting. But I'm not too sure if they're equal in record, and then you just see the levels, or maybe they're just slow starters, and then Richard, well, we know Richard, he's not a slow starter. I'm not too sure, but what can happen with a fighter like Richard Torres is that they become enamored with their punching power, and then they develop bad habits, and then they come against somebody like Jalalov. If I'm not mistaken, that's the guy who beat him 2 or 3 times in the Olympics, and that doesn't work for them, right? There's not many Jalalovs that are coming up right now, but I'm sure there's going to be a few that are going to give Richard Torres a heck of a tough night once they run into each other. But yeah, so far, he's just going out there looking good, punching a couple of human punching bags, and then just calling it a night real quick. The homie Ricky says, I'm excited for Richard Torres. Him and Andy Ruiz would be a good fight in 2 years. Richard Torres, Andy Ruiz. Okay. Mr. Vince Vargas, true Ricky, 2 short heavyweights. El Pachuco, Ryan turning his back was strange, man. The referee didn't give Ryan any warnings. The ref was clearly on the side of Ryan. What can I say? I'm not going to question that. I will say this. I've never seen that ref before. I've never seen that ref before. I've watched a lot of boxing, and I've never seen that ref before. And this guy was calling everything. It was, you hit him on the back, you hit him on the head, you hit him on the side of the head, you hit him on the elbow, you hit him on the ribs, you hit him below the belt. He was calling everything. I'll say one thing. I've never seen that guy. I don't think I want to see him again. Was going to ask that, huh? Okay, Mr. Vince Vargas. Probably talking about some other stuff right there. Oh, Mr. Vince Vargas, yeah, no idea. So it was Cameron Cepeda, William Cameron Cepeda, that I was referring to, about Oscar De La Hoya really wanting to have Ryan lose, set him up against that guy. Mr. Vince Vargas, that's hilarious. How many Vince Vargas are there? There's a bunch of fighters taking big group picture, and then in another one it looks like 3. Oh, that has to be the Vargas Dynasty. Yep, that is. It's a very small image, but they're all wearing white with little stripes of red. And he says, Ryan needs to hurry up and fight so he can get out of that contract. Yeah, you know what, Mr. Vargas? If Ryan is not happy where he's at, yeah, you don't have to be there. I agree. They should sever that relationship, um, and hopefully be friends at the end. El Pachuco says Cepeda. That's right, Pachuco. That's who I was referring to. Mr. Vince Vargas changes his icon again. Says Ryan was being cautious, overly cautious. Let me see. Sorry about that, guys. I have to cough. The homie Ricky, LOL. Broly, shaking my head. Brian ain't fighting none of those dudes. Absolutely not, homie Ricky. And the homie Ricky ends his last message by saying, Devin Haney, you jerk. Devin Haney could blow out his nose and make weight. That was the joke. See, I told you I found that to be hilarious. That's right. There was a joke that was stated that I thought was so funny that I immediately hit up the homie Ricky and said, the homie Ricky, check this out. Devin Haney could blow his nose and make weight. And I started laughing at Commandment. Oh God. Sorry about that, guys. I couldn't even laugh. I've been getting over this this strep throat. I told that story at the beginning of the show. Horrible week of my life. But hey, one easy way to shed 11 pounds, guys. I'm almost gonna be fighting at 154. Or 147, I mean. I was closer to 154 already. Um, Let me see what Mr. Oh man, you're having fun there, Mr. Vargas. You're swapping out your that's Richard Torres. Ryan Garcia had a weird defense in that fight, turning his back to the side. That's why he was getting hit behind the head. And the reason why the ref should have admonished and point deducted Ryan is because the position of defense that Ryan Garcia was assuming was one that was gonna expose him to rabbit punches and the nape of the head and in the spine, and that was all of his own device. You see, um, it's similar to when a fighter ducks below the belt, right? The reason why they stop fighters from ducking below the belt is not because they're necessarily gonna be at risk of doing anything bad by assuming that position. Like let's say for example, if you drop your head too low, your foe is likely gonna start having to throw punches downwards. That's not really what happens. You really don't see uh, fighters duck below the belt, and then the fighter that's standing and hovering over him throws these crazy old punches downwards. It doesn't happen. The reason why they admonished that, and let's see if somebody guessed it right here, was because when the fighter that's stuck below the belt starts to stand up, he can actually hurt the opponent because the guy standing over him, this guy could duck down, all of a sudden starts erecting himself and standing up. He could hit him in the crotch, he could hit him in the chest, he could hit him in the jaw, he could headbutt him. Basically, the reason why they admonish ducking below the belt is because that position uh, allows uh, for damage to the foe that's hovering over. But the position that Ryan Garcia was taking, which yes, he had the weird defense in the fight, turning his back into the side, was one that was exposing him to punches to the spinal cord, to the nape of the neck, to parts of the body that shouldn't necessarily be punched, like the lungs and so forth and so on, right? Now, there is a question, right? I guess maybe that's a question, guys. Maybe you guys answer this. In the sport of boxing, why does all the attack have to be frontally? Why does it have to be limited to the face, to the chest, and to the torso and to the stomach gut region? Why can it not be expanded to include the arms, the elbows, the back, the upper back, the temple, and everything? I mean, if you can post and frame your opponents so that they can assume a position similar to the one that Ryan Garcia did willingly, why can you not punch him in the back? Why can you not punch him in the lungs? Right? I mean, the reason they are in that position is because you placed them in that position and because you can capitalize by attacking in those very dangerous positions that you have them on. Now, people are going to say, oh, it's because of the danger, because of what can happen while you have them in those positions. But, guys, this is really a death sport. This is a violent affair that we're discussing. We get offended because somebody gets hit in the buttocks. Look, I understand nobody should be struck. As a man, I can tell you this: nobody should be struck below the belt, right? I've been kicked in the nether regions. Uh, you know what? And in the adrenaline of a fight, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the pain that most of us feel when we get kicked on the family jewels. But check this out. One one day, or actually, it's happened to me about two or three different times. A couple of times when I've been running or jogging up the mountains, especially when you're coming down, right? You've already had a long day of hiking, running. You're very tired, but now you have this downwards momentum that's allowing your body to come back down the hill running uh, with much facility because gravity and the momentum is just pushing you forward at a velocity. So what happens is when you're running downhill and whatnot, I'm sure that you've seen it. You look a little stupid. You don't look as strong and manly and with proper form as when you're running at a level area or even upwards, right? And when you're running upwards, you square up, you start running in proper form. You look like a beast. Boom, 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 boom. You look like like a tackle in football. Just boom, 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 boom. When you're running on a flat level terrain, you assume a proper form. You're standing upwards. Your arms are swinging left and right, sharp and cutting the air, right? But when you're running down, especially when you have momentum, what happens is and you're stopping and you're trying to prevent yourself from falling. You're trying to make sure that you land flat on your feet so that you don't twist your ankle. And sometimes your legs start, bending this way, going that way. Your hands start flailing left and right. And I've accidentally touched a testy. My little finger has just touched a testy. And before I know it, this incredible pain radiates up and down my body. I cannot breathe. I'm on the floor, wriggling in pain. Ugh, ugh. And guess what? I didn't hit it. I accidentally touched it. Now, mind you, I've been in a few street fights as a young individual in the city of Salinas, California, because who hasn't? This is just one of those places that promotes that kind of stuff. Um, I don't know why, if you're short, skinny, you have an afro, you're ugly, you have crooked teeth, people find you to be perfect subject for ridicule and bullying, right? That's what I was. That's what I was. So I fought a lot. And after you fight a lot, you like to fight, or maybe if you don't like to fight, you get used to fighting and you lose that fear, that anxiety that comes, that sometimes restricts you from taking action. So I was pretty good at it until one day I ended up meeting this guy that was incredibly skillful at fighting. Long story short, guys. Yeah, yeah, it hurt. It hurt, Mr. Vargas. It hurt. It hurts me. It's happened about two or three different times where accidentally I just nick it. I just running. You know the position that you assume running, but you're tired and you're instead of your hands being a little outwards, your hand just sort of goes inward, and I believe it's just the one on my left side, and I just touch it like with my finger, and oh goodness! But I've been in fights where I've been jumped and I've been kicked in those parts, and guess what? The adrenaline or the fact that there's people watching prevents you from feeling that pain. But when you're in the middle, in solitude, just all by yourself, uh, running and nobody around you, yeah, you're gonna allow the pain to take over, and you're just gonna look like a chicken. Shh. It absolutely hurt, Mr. Vargas. Absolutely hurt. Yeah. Well, long story short, I can tell you that if you get hit below the belt, it's either gonna hurt or it's not gonna hurt. Um, Mr. Vince Vargas states Torres shaved his mustache, I think. Torres shaved his mustache, but but that's what gave him that porn stash. That's what made him who he was. He finally shaved the porn stash. Yeah, the that movie by Paul Thomas Anderson, whatever it was, Boogie Nights or whatever. Yeah, he shaved off that. I suppose I haven't seen him, but you know what, Mr. Vargas, uh, mustache or not, I reckon that fella's a good looking man. He finally shaved off the porn stash. Okay. The homie Ricky states, how you can talk about Ryan Garcia for 2 hours is insane. Ryan doesn't even have a career lasting 2 hours. I know, homie Ricky, but I was not talking about Ryan Garcia. I was talking about the shenanigans, the machinations around the fight that made it seem like there was a conspiracy against Ryan Garcia, and how I just basically, appended those beliefs. There was no conspiracy against Ryan Garcia. Everything actually leads one to believe that Ryan Garcia was set up for a victory. That's what I'm talking about. Nobody is talking about this, the homie Ricky. Everybody's going off and talking about, oh, Oscar Duarte, blue to blue, blah, blah, blah. And I'm the only one trying to hit you guys with some reason and logic. The homie Ricky goes on. If you were to tally up all the minutes of combat, it's short of 2 hours. Mr. Vince Vargas says, yep, that does hurt. The homie Ricky, Dracula. The homie Ricky sends out a Dracula emoji. I'm not too sure why you're sending the Dracula emoji, man. The homie Ricky, wonder when his next fight is. Oh, Drac. Okay. Well, Mr. Vince Vargas is now having fun with himself. He's changing his little icon all the time. Haha, Drac V. Draco V. Drac V, not Draco. The homie Ricky with the little happy face and the tears. And Mr. Vince Vargas says, spell check on my end. LOL. You know what? Now that you guys are sending out those little emojis, is there a a smile now, cry later emoji? Because that would be cool, right? Because that probably sums up a lot of what this whole weekend is going to be about, right? Right now, everybody is talking about Reach's program. Uh, and listen, guys, I know it's late. I know I've kept you up. I know homie Ricky is probably like, man, you're still talking about Ryan Garcia. I'm not. I'm not. I'm talking about getting hit in the testes accidentally and falling like a little chicken to the floor. But I did want to say that I hope that a homie Ricky allows me to hop on another one of these lives this week before the big fight this week because I have big news. I have big news regarding the going ons on this Regis Prograf fight. For example, well, maybe I should just leave it for another day, but I'm not too sure if I'll have another day because the homie Ricky, every time I hit him up to go on a live, he always says, "Oh, there you go." Mr. Vince Vargas to smile now, cry later. Um, the homie Ricky always says, "No, I don't want to talk about boxing. I don't value my opinion so much." And I'm like, "Look, bro, you and I talk about boxing every single day. If you're not calling me, I'm calling you. And why don't we just throw it up on the live, right?" The other day we went on a 2 hour live without having gone on a 2 hour live. It was ridiculous. We were talking about, I think we're talking about, I think we're talking about Regis Progra uh, and Devin Haney. And we were going back and forth for like 2 hours. And then I said, hopped on the live. We're doing the same exact thing. Nah, I don't value my opinion, but here he is putting my ear for 2 hours. All right, all right. Then it's my turn the next day, cutting in for another 2 hours. So I just don't think he likes to hear the sound of his voice. That's what it is. He's probably very conscientious about it. He probably feels like he talks like one of those little kids. I tell him, who cares? Nobody cares. Our listeners don't judge you based off the snotty, nasally whine of your voice. They care about the subjects we're talking about and whether they're legitimate or not. Um, but I did want to say one thing about this upcoming fight, guys, between Regis Prograf and uh, and Devin Haney. I hear everybody saying, "I hope Devin Haney loses. I hope pillow fisted Devin Haney loses. Pillow pillow fisted Devin Haney hugging Haney is gonna make it a boring fight." They never say, "Yo, I'm gonna go for Regis Prograf for the knockout because Regis Prograf is an older, more experienced fighter who may not have lost to the undisputed champion in Josh Taylor. He may have been the undisputed fighter. That could have fought in, uh, JC Ramirez for all the belts." They don't say that. They say, "Oh no, Devin Haney's gonna make it a boring fight. He's gonna hit and hug." And I'm thinking to myself, is that what Devin Haney did to Lomachenko? Really? He held and hugged. And nobody seems to say Regis Prograf is gonna knock out the pillow fisted fighter and Devin Haney who lost to Lomachenko and he almost got knocked out by Linares. Nobody says that. And when they say that, they still say, "Yeah, but Devin Haney's gonna win." So it's like they hate this guy, but they can't bet against him. That's hilarious. I tell you straight off the bat, I believe Devin Haney is gonna win, not in a boring fashion. I believe he's gonna win in a very hard fought, but still an even fight in favor of Devin because Devin Haney has fought in some of the best fighters in quick and back to back succession than any other fighter in the sport currently. When people make a big deal about Subriel Matias fighting all these crazy guys with crazy records that are undefeated with knockout power and all kinds of wins, he's also fighting people that nobody's heard of, right? But they say Matthias is a killer. But yet, Devin Haney, right? Devin Haney fights Lomachenko. Let's just go. Let's just see who Devin Haney's fighting. He's fought Lomachenko, one of the greatest southpaw fighters in boxing's history, in my opinion. Looked good against him. He fought George Cambosos, who beat a guy who should have arguably been an undisputed fighter in Teofimo Lopez. He fought him twice in that man's backyard, where in one fight there was an estimated 40,000 Aussies cheering against Devin Haney. He fought a three division former champion and Joe Diaz, Joseph Diaz Jr. He fought one of the most offensive, technically skilled multi-division champions, four-division champion, if not mistaken, Jorge Linares. He fought Yoriorki Gamboa when Yoriorki Gamboa's leg was still working. Not the Yoriorki Gamboa that fought Tank Davis, if I'm not mistaken. I think he fought him first, or maybe I'm mistaken. He fought Saur Abdullayev. He fought Antonio Moran. Okay. He fought Mason Bernard. This is Devin Haney, Lomachenko, Camboso, Jojo Diaz, Linares, Gamboa, who ended up fighting Terence Crawford. Let's not forget that. Shell of himself, but still, uh, Devin Haney must have been about 22 years of age around that time, right? This is Devin Haney, a guy who, if people thought he was pillow fisted because he doesn't have a lot of knockouts, they should be like, you know what? The naturally bigger man who's used to fighting at 140 and who is a powerful fighter in Regis Program is gonna beat the poop out of Devin Haney and knock him out. And even though everybody wants Devin Haney to lose and they dislike the guy, they're not willing to put their money where their mouth is. So why don't you guys just admit that Devin Haney is one of the best fighters out there and that you are afraid to bet against the guy? Yeah, I don't know. Devin Haney for the win. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fun night. There's going to be lots of good fights coming up there. And just to end this night, one of Shoe-in Hall of Famers and a beloved fighter that a lot of Mexican Americans and Mexicans love, Mr. Tim Bradley, states Ryan Garcia gets destroyed by top 140 pounders. Yes. Yes, I believe that is the case. Okay. There's going to be some upcoming fights, ladies and gentlemen. There's going to be a lot of fights that I hope we address and we bring up to your guys' attention. I want to remind you, in case you guys did not know this, that there is a website called countrybox247.com who host on Random Tuesday once or twice a month boxing events from Tennessee and Saloon. And I think it's Nashville, or maybe it's Memphis. But in one of those beautiful cities in Tennessee, I believe it is Nashville, the country music and general music capital of the U.S. They host inside of a very close and intimate saloon a boxing event for free once a month or so. And the venue is one of the most unique and intimate ones. And they've not disappointed. Now, they had one today's date October the 5th, current year, I mean, December the 5th, current year 2023. And I'm sorry to say that this one at least did disappoint. Only in the sense that not the fighters didn't come with it. It's just that there was some refing that was off. There was a guy that just quit. I've never seen this happen, guys. But there was a fight that ended in a quit because the guy got tired after the first round. He literally got tired and he said, "No, no, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done." I'm done. It was hilarious. Outside of that, I can say it was still very interesting event. But again, on Tuesdays, on a random Tuesday, you might want to follow him on their website, countrybox247.com for free. Up and comers, notable names, free. Very fun, cool venue. And they play country music while, in between rounds or between fights. And they play very good country music. There is actual live country musicians playing country music, and then they get to boxing, and then the fight ends, and then the musicians come back out and just perform. It's incredible. If you love country music, and I would say who doesn't, there's going to be the place for you. On Wednesdays, you can count on ProBox to at least provide two boxing events a night for $2 a month, or if you want it even better, on their YouTube channel for free. But there are going to be fights this weekend, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, and those include Regis Prograb versus Devin Haney this Saturday, uh, Robesi Ramirez versus Rafael Espinosa this Saturday. This one is on ESPN. The other one is a pay per view on the Zone. On Sunday, we have CBS or Chris Bidham Smith versus Matthews Masternak. That is going to be a good fight, guys. That's in Sky Sports. And if it's Sky Sports, that means it may just be broadcast by Top Rank. Sorry, guys, I'm losing my voice because of all this coughing and whatnot. So, yeah, the Zone for the pay per view event is Saturday, ESPN for free, Robesi Ramirez, and all them other cats. Sunday, likely in the middle of the day or early afternoon, Chris Bidham Smith will be fighting Matthews Masternak, and likely another heavy, chocked, full of excitement event being hosted by Sky Sports, which is over there in the UK, but likely promoted on Top Rank. So check that one out just in case. And I guess on a Thursday, we're going to be having on the Zone Walter Santibanez versus Jose Sanchez. On the Zone on Friday, Jake Paul versus Andre Augustus. Guys, are you watching? Are you listening? Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays. There's boxing. Are we living in the best days of our life or not for boxing fans? Mr. Vince Vargas probably says the most with just the least when he says, "Yeah, get some rest." Work was cooking. Yeah, I believe you're right, Mr. Vargas. I do need to get some rest. I've been very sick. And Mr. Vince Vargas's action-packed weekend on Saturday. Absolutely, Mr. Vargas. Absolutely, can't wait for that day. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Vince Vargas, the homie Ricky, El Pachuco, Sports Archives, all of you, my friends, those people that come and hit us up all the time. I want to say that I salute you, that I personally wish the best for you and your family. I may not know you, but I feel like I do. And just because I feel like I do, I feel. And what I feel is that you guys deserve the best things in life. Visit us more often whenever you can. Catch a replay of any of our old videos. They're pretty entertaining, I suppose. Um, but I want to say you guys are incredible. I love you guys, as our listeners. I wish your guys' life is the best. And yes, Mr. Vince Vargas, have a good one. I sure will. Pachuco, Ricky, Wart, live long and prosper. Good night, ladies and gentlemen, and blessings to you all. Oh, one last thing. The homie Ricky states, good night, fellas. Vince, Pachuco, Speed, and Sports Archives. Thank you for tuning in, fellas. I agree, the homie Ricky. Thank you for allowing me to hold it down for a minute. And I do wish you also a wonderful night. Please take care. Goodbye.